Hi, I'm Colleen Taylor with TechCrunch TV. Here with us on the phone is Kirsten Kowalski, who is a trifecta. She's a portrait photographer for DDK Portraits in Alpharetta, Georgia, and she's also a corporate lawyer, and she's also a passionate Pinterest user who has sort of found that there are some copyright interests with Pinterest that might need to be rectified. Hi, Kirsten. How are you?
Hi, Colleen. I'm good, thanks.
Good. So can you just take me back and tell me what initially worried you or set off an alarm to you that something might not be right about Pinterest copyright issues?
Yeah, sure. I actually am, I can't take the credit for the alarm bells going off. Some photographers in a forum that I'm in on Facebook were talking about it, and they're actually the ones who brought it up and said, you know, how are you supposed to use Pinterest? You're not supposed to self-promote, but doesn't that raise copyright issues? And I thought, well, I guess it does. And, you know, I hadn't really thought about it before. And they knew that I was a lawyer, so they asked me to look into it a little bit.
Right. And then so you kind of read very thoroughly Pinterest's terms of service, I suppose, and what was it that really worried you about what you read?
Well, actually, I started with their, you know, kind of rule of etiquette, which is don't self-promote.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, well, if you're not supposed to pin your own stuff and you are pinning other people's work, they must have terms that explain why that's okay. So I went to their terms of use, and the very first thing I saw was you hereby represent that anything you post, you either own or have a license or all rights to use.
Wow.
And when I saw that, I thought, okay, they don't have it straightened out. And their lawyers know they don't have it straightened out, and that's why they wrote these terms of service this way. So.
And then you actually went and deleted all of your pin boards and wrote a blog about this that sort of went viral. And then I understand that that you got a phone call from the actual founder, one of the co-founders of Pinterest, Ben Silbermann.
Yeah, I actually only deleted my inspiration boards. I kept up any boards that contained my own work. And then, you know, I wrote the blog, and it did go kind of viral. And when I saw that it was getting a lot more attention than I had anticipated, I actually shot an email to Pinterest and just said, hey, I wanted to let you know this is kind of getting a lot of attention. Do you guys want to respond? And then Ben called me that night.
And can you tell me a little bit about the conversation with Ben? I read that it lasted over an hour, so I imagine it was pretty wide-ranging. What did he say?
Yeah, it lasted just a little bit over an hour. He was super gracious, just a really nice, easygoing guy. I mean, anybody who's talked to him knows, you know, that he's just a really likable guy. I was a little nervous that he would be upset, but he wasn't. He acknowledged that, you know, they're having some growing pains and that the site has, you know, some things to work out. And he was mostly interested to just chat about what I thought as a photographer, ways that they could, you know, improve the site and help make it a more comfortable place for photographers and users alike. So we just kind of shot around some ideas, and he listened and, you know, said that changes would be coming.
Yes, I understand that, and you said that you've been in contact with him several times over the past few weeks, and with him and his team, and that they've said that changes are coming. Do you have any idea, I mean, what did you tell him that you thought the changes should be? Do you have any idea where their priorities are? What are some of the main things that may be changing here soon?
You know, I don't pretend to tell him exactly what I think his changes should be. We were kind of talking about just some general ideas. You know, I think his priority is to make the site as friendly, but as beautiful and as much instant gratification as he can provide. You know, we kind of talked about maybe sending a request to a blog owner or a website owner to pin, and, you know, we talked about the the reasons why that might not be such a great idea, because people don't want to wait around for an answer. Talked about just a lot of different suggestions, and he didn't commit to anything, but he said, yeah, a lot of that's good feedback, and he said he'd go talk to his creative team and also talk with his attorneys about, what they could do to achieve their goals, and also help make photographers and other artists, a little more comfortable.
Right. And so, and your sort of decision to delete some of your boards that were using other people's work, did that have to do, because I understand that what you had found is that each Pinterest user is actually liable if their pin boards are found to infringe on things. It's not Pinterest who's going to take the fall. It's a user, and the individual user you're on your own.
Right. Well, most of these sites have that kind of language, and and he's also, Pinterest would be covered by the Digital Millennium Copyright Act and all of that too. Which, I'm sorry, hold on, I have an alarm.
It's okay.
That would provide them a little bit of a safe harbor, but it doesn't provide the users the safe harbor. And the reason it concerns me most with Pinterest than with, like, say Facebook or YouTube, is that Pinterest says you're supposed to use the site this certain way. However, our first rule is that you're really not allowed to use the site the way we're telling you to use it. And if you do, and it causes an issue, you're going to be liable and you're going to indemnify us for it. And to me, that just kind of made me go, okay, a site can't put out something like that and then say, if you use it as we intend you to use it, you're liable, not us. That's what makes them a little bit different, in my opinion, than Facebook and YouTube and those other sites.
Right. It sounds like, as a photographer, you're a photographer, you're a lawyer, and you're also a Pinterest fan, so you're rooting for them to do
absolutely.
well. Yeah, but you definitely think that there are some things that need to change here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm definitely rooting for them. I want to be able to use it again. I miss my inspiration boards. I'm trying to decorate my studio, and I had this great inspiration board with decorating ideas, and I want to go to it, and it's gone. So now I'm going, okay, and I'm going to look at everybody else's board since they're still using it. But yeah, I like Pinterest, and I think they have a great product on their hands. I think Ben is a really likable guy. I think that he's got all of the tools that he needs to make an amazing site. I think he just needs to have some really creative minds come together to figure out how to run it the way he wants to run it, while still, being well within the confines of the law, enough so that it's a smaller risk than it is today to use the site. The law is just really not clear. And, you do the fair use analysis and all of that, and there's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot of case law that goes into it. And I purposely didn't go into a big law review article in my blog. But the bottom line is, it's just not clear enough, in my opinion, to say to all the users out there, hey, yeah, no, this is safe, it's fair use. Because I think in a lot of instances it's not going to be, and it's pretty fact specific. And I think they need to come up with some ways where they take all the factors and they structure the site so that when those factors are applied, it comes down on their side, or the user side, of fair use more often than not.
Great, Kirsten. I have one last question, because I noticed that you said that if someone has an explicit pin it button next to their content, you see that as being sort of, then it's okay to use their photos on Pinterest. From your sort of professional opinion, could that be a remedy here, if more photographers just get a pin it button on their page, and if we share things using that, then it's okay?
Well, yeah, I think one of the first things that Pinterest can do is basically create this pin it button where you go to Pinterest, and by getting the pin it button, you agree, by the terms of getting the pin it button, that by putting this button on your content, you're hereby giving people the license and right to pin your content on Pinterest. And then you're granting a license by putting that pin it button there. And then I think that it would be safer for, people could feel safe by looking at that, that specific pin it button from Pinterest and say, okay, this person has granted consent. That's how they got the button.
Great. Kirsten Kowalski, thank you so much for being with us. Kirsten of ddkportraits.com in Alpharetta, Georgia. We really appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, no problem, Colleen. Thank you.
Thanks.